So this week's movement comparison, we're gonna be going over the walking lunges versus split squats. So most people understand what a walking lunge is, most people understand what a unilateral leg movement is, but I'm not sure most people truly grasp the difference between walking lunges and split squats and how dramatic those differences actually are in practice. So for a walking lunge, most people understand exactly what that looks like. We're gonna be going in line. Most people, slam their knees against the ground, probably don't want to be doing that. But it's a very controlled movement. Typically, you're not going to be limited by mobility or even really by strength. It's a pretty common movement pattern. With split squats, we're going to be performing the exact same pattern, that unilateral squat, just static. We're not walking while we're doing it. So we have a supporting leg and we have a working leg, and we're just in place here. And the functionality is actually much different between the two movements. Whereas walking lunges are very dynamic, they're gonna require a lot more balance, a lot more stability, and there's gonna be a lot more changing forces. That's great for if you're wanting to, develop your athleticism, develop your functional capabilities, if you want to increase your joint integrity because you're having to decelerate on the catch and on the lunge. Not great for hypertrophy in all senses. Walking lunges can grow muscles for sure, but it's an inconsistent tension. Also, again, going back to that deceleration, for someone who might have hip or knee injuries, maybe not the best because we're placing higher loads and higher forces on those joints. So something like a split squat might be a little bit better. But with walking lunges, most people are gonna be alternating. So that's another component because it's a little bit easier to put that in a superset or even like a giant set with other bilateral movement patterns because you're not gonna be doing, single leg, and then going into, let's say like a deadlift pattern or a squat pattern or something like that. It just kind of seamlessly flows a bit better there. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, that actually changes the leverages between a split squat and a walking lunge is the ability in a split squat to actually control where the force is directed a bit more. Again, walking lunges are gonna be dynamic. With a split squat, I can choose to make it very quad focused by allowing my front knee to go forward over my toe and really changing that knee flexion and that dynamic there. Or I can make it more glute focused by limiting the knee flexion I'm getting here and sinking back more into my back knee and keeping myself a little bit more hip involved. So a lot can happen in something that looks so innocuous, but the main things to remember, walking lunges, dynamic, generally gonna be thought of as alternating and bilateral, so it can be integrated a little bit more easily. Split squats have a more consistent tension, are more easily directed with that tension, and generally gonna be a little bit better for people who are suffering from pre-existing injuries in their hips, low back, knees, and things like that. Both gonna be able to integrate into programs pretty well for a unilateral squat pattern, but just understand where each falls on that spectrum and you'll be much better off for it.